Have you ever noticed swollen ankles and puffed up calves on elderly people? It's so common we accept it as inevitable. But what if it doesn't have to happen? I've spent decades in Japan observing something overlooked in the West. I've watched women in their 90s with legs that look decades younger. No swelling. No edema. Meanwhile, over 60% of Americans their age deal with significant leg swelling interfering with mobility and confidence. The contrast is stark. It's not about genetics. It's not about luck. It's not expensive treatment. What you're about to discover addresses the actual cause. The question that kept me professionally engaged for decades was simple. Why? Why do Japanese elders maintain this level of tissue integrity while Western populations experience such dramatic deterioration? What are they doing that we're not? Is it what they eat? Is it how they move? Is it both? Is it something deeper? I've dedicated my entire career to understanding longevity at the cellular level. Specifically, how tissue quality determines whether someone remains vital or whether they descend into the slow, creeping deterioration that we've normalized in Western culture. Leg swelling isn't just a cosmetic annoyance. It's a visible sign of something breaking down inside your body. It's a message. And most people are ignoring it. What you're about to discover isn't theory. It's not speculation. It's medical observation rooted in preventive health practices that have been refined over centuries in Japanese culture. I'm going to reveal to you the exact foods, the specific mechanisms, and the daily patterns that Japanese seniors use to maintain vascular integrity and tissue quality well into their 90s and beyond. But here's what's crucial to understand. This isn't about adding supplements to your routine. It's not about buying expensive collagen powders or injections. It's about understanding a fundamental principle that Western medicine has largely abandoned, the principle of addressing the root cause before symptoms become severe. The foods I'm about to discuss are things you can find in your local grocery store. Some of them you already know. Some of them you've probably dismissed as ordinary or underestimated their value. But in combination, with proper understanding of their biological function, they become a systematic approach to rebuilding the tissue quality that determines whether you'll experience leg swelling or maintain lean, defined legs throughout your later years. Over the next few minutes, you're going to understand exactly why collagen loss leads to edema, exactly which foods address this at the cellular level, and exactly how Japanese elders structure their daily diet to prevent deterioration before it starts. You're going to see the cause and effect chain so clearly that you'll wonder why this isn't common knowledge. This is the information that changes how you approach your health after 50. This is what separates those who age gracefully from those who experience the slow, progressive decline we've come to accept as normal. Let's begin. Before we go deeper into the specifics, I want to acknowledge something important. You took the time to watch this far, and that matters. It means you're someone who doesn't just accept the default narrative about aging. You're someone who asks questions. You're someone who's willing to look beyond what we've been told is inevitable. That's exactly the kind of person who benefits most from what I'm about to share. So here's what I'm asking of you right now. If you're feeling that resonance, if something in what I've said so far is clicking into place, leave a comment. Tell me what drew you here. Was it personal? Are you noticing leg swelling in yourself or someone you care about? Or are you the type of person who wants to prevent this before it happens? Your comment matters not just to me, but to the other people watching who might be feeling isolated in this experience. When you share your story, you're part of a community that's choosing a different path. Also, like this video if it's hitting differently for you. I know that sounds like a small thing, but it signals to the algorithm that this content matters, that real people care about understanding health at this level. That helps me reach more people who need this information. And if you want to stay updated when I release more content about Japanese longevity practices, about preventive health strategies that actually work, about the biological mechanisms most doctors never explain, subscribe to this channel. This is just the beginning. There's so much more to uncover about how tissue quality, mineral balance, and deliberate dietary choices compound over time into the difference between thriving and declining. But right now, let's focus on what's directly in front of us. Because what I'm about to explain will change how you see every meal you eat. Let me take you inside what's actually happening in your body when you develop leg swelling. And I need you to understand this clearly, because once you see the mechanism, everything else I'm about to tell you will make perfect sense. Imagine your blood vessels as sophisticated tubes made of 3 distinct layers. The innermost layer is the endothelium, a delicate, permeable membrane. Surrounding that is a layer of smooth muscle cells. And wrapping around the entire structure is a framework of connective tissue. That framework is primarily collagen. It's the structural glue that holds everything together, that gives the vessel wall its integrity and elasticity. When you're young, this collagen is abundant and organized. The vessel walls are elastic. They can expand and contract with each heartbeat. The permeability is tightly controlled. Fluid stays inside the vessels where it belongs. Gravity pulls downward, yes, but the pressure gradient from the heart keeps blood moving upward against gravity. The muscle pump in your calves, those muscles that contract when you walk, when you move, helps push blood back up toward the heart. It's an elegant system. But here's what happens as you age, and this is the critical part. Collagen breaks down. This isn't random. It's not a mystery. Collagen degradation happens because of multiple converging factors. Free radicals oxidize collagen fibers. Chronic inflammation activates enzymes called matrix metalloproteinases that literally digest collagen. Your body produces less of the amino acids needed to synthesize new collagen. Glycine, proline, hydroxyproline, the building blocks themselves become scarce. Combined with declining estrogen after menopause in women, which directly impacts collagen synthesis, the rate of breakdown exceeds the rate of repair. The vessel walls lose their integrity. They become less elastic. The endothelium becomes more permeable. Fluid that should stay inside the vessels begins leaking into the interstitial space, the area between your cells. At the same time, your muscle pump becomes less efficient. You move less, or when you do move, those muscles don't contract with the same force they once did. The return of blood and lymph to the heart slows. Pressure accumulates in the distal vessels, the ones furthest from the heart. Gravity does the rest. Fluid pools in your feet and legs because the pressure gradient that kept it circulating has weakened. Now, here's what most doctors will tell you at this point. Take a diuretic to remove the fluid. Wear compression stockings. Elevate your legs. These are symptom management strategies. They're not bad. Elevation and movement do help, but they don't address the underlying problem. You can take a diuretic that forces your kidneys to excrete more fluid, and yes, the swelling will temporarily decrease. But the collagen in your vessel walls is still degrading. The structural problem is still worsening. You're just masking the symptom. In Japanese medical practice, specifically in preventive health approaches refined over centuries, the perspective is fundamentally different. The question isn't how to manage the swelling. The question is, how do we prevent the collagen from degrading in the first place? And if it's already degraded, how do we provide the raw materials for the body to rebuild it? This is where your diet becomes medicine. But before I go deeper into which specific foods accomplish this, you need to understand something about your body's ability to use the nutrients you consume. It's not just about eating foods that contain collagen. It's about eating foods that provide collagen in a form your body can actually absorb and utilize. It's about providing the mineral cofactors that enable your body to synthesize new collagen. It's about reducing the chronic inflammation that activates those collagen-destroying enzymes. The difference between Western approaches and Japanese approaches is this. We've been treating edema as a problem of fluid management. Japanese medical tradition treats it as a problem of tissue quality. One is endless symptom management. The other is restoration. The foods you're about to learn about were identified not through modern clinical trials, but through centuries of observation. Japanese physicians watched their elderly populations. They noticed patterns. They saw which families remained mobile and vital into their 90s, and which ones experienced progressive decline. They traced these patterns back to dietary habits, to lifestyle choices, to daily practices. Over time, they distilled the essential elements. These weren't random recommendations. They were carefully observed cause and effect relationships between what people ate and how their bodies aged. Comment below, this makes sense to me, if you're ready to understand which foods trigger this tissue restoration process. Now I need to show you the direct, unbroken line between collagen loss and the fluid retention you see in your legs. This is where the mechanism becomes undeniable. Think about collagen's role in your vascular system as structural support. Type 1 collagen, which makes up approximately 85% of your blood vessel walls, functions like the steel framework in a building. It provides tensile strength. It prevents the vessel from becoming flaccid or overly permeable. When that framework deteriorates, everything changes. Here's the specific mechanism. When collagen in blood vessel walls degrades, the endothelium, that innermost lining, loses its support structure. It becomes more permeable. The junctions between endothelial cells, which normally control what passes through and what doesn't, become less tight. Plasma proteins and fluid that would normally remain inside the vessel start leaking into the interstitial space. Your body's natural response is to try to maintain blood volume, so your kidneys hold on to sodium and water. You retain more fluid. The swelling increases. Simultaneously, collagen degradation affects your lymphatic system. Lymphatic vessels rely on collagen in their walls to maintain structural integrity. When that collagen breaks down, lymphatic vessels become less efficient at moving fluid back toward the heart. You develop a dual problem. More fluid is leaking out of blood vessels, and less fluid is being transported back to the circulation. The result is accumulation. But there's another dimension to this that most people miss. Collagen also serves an immune function in blood vessel walls. It provides a stable matrix that keeps inflammatory cells from infiltrating the vessel wall. When collagen deteriorates, inflammatory cells migrate into the vessel, releasing chemicals that further degrade what remains. It becomes a cascade. One problem triggers another, which triggers another. The deterioration accelerates. This is why anti-inflammatory approaches alone don't fully solve the problem. Yes, reducing inflammation helps slow the cascade, but if the underlying collagen structure continues to degrade, you're fighting a losing battle. You need to address both, reduce the inflammation that's destroying collagen, and simultaneously provide the raw materials for collagen restoration. Now, let's talk about why Western medicine has largely abandoned this approach. In modern medical practice, when you present with leg edema, you get offered pharmaceutical interventions. Diuretics, which force fluid loss through the kidneys. ACE inhibitors or other medications that affect vascular permeability. Compression therapy. These aren't ineffective. They do reduce swelling temporarily, but they require ongoing use. You're not getting better. You're managing a chronic condition. In Japanese medical philosophy, particularly in preventive health traditions, there's a fundamental principle. Address the cause, not the symptom. If the cause is collagen degradation, then dietary intervention that provides collagen and the cofactors needed for collagen synthesis becomes the primary strategy. This requires understanding which foods contain bioavailable collagen and which foods support the body's own collagen production. The distinction matters profoundly. Some foods contain collagen directly. When you consume them, your digestive system breaks down the collagen molecules into constituent amino acids, and your body uses those amino acids to rebuild its own collagen. Other foods contain minerals and compounds that enhance your body's ability to synthesize collagen. Still others reduce the inflammation that accelerates collagen breakdown. An optimal dietary approach addresses all three simultaneously. Here's what's remarkable. The same foods that were central to Japanese elder diets 500 years ago are still central today. Not because of some mystical tradition, but because they work. They were selected through observation and refined through time. They address the root mechanism. The vessel wall integrity you see in Japanese women in their 90s isn't an accident. It's not genetics. It's the direct result of decades of consistent consumption of foods that provide collagen and minerals, combined with lifestyle patterns that reduce chronic inflammation. Their bodies simply don't experience the accelerated collagen breakdown that's become normal in Western aging. This is the principle I want you to internalize before we discuss the specific foods. Collagen is a material substance. It can be provided through diet. It can be rebuilt when you provide the right conditions. Edema is a visible signal that your vascular and lymphatic systems have lost structural integrity. Restoring that integrity requires consistent provision of the building blocks. This isn't experimental. This isn't theoretical. This is observable, repeatable, predictable. Once you understand this, the next question becomes obvious. Which foods are we talking about? How do you get collagen from food? What form must it be in to be bioavailable? And critically, how much, how often, and in what combination? That's where the specificity begins. That's where the difference between knowing intellectually and actually living differently emerges. Type, "I'm on this journey too," if you're ready to discover which foods will reverse this process. Let me introduce you to the first of the 4 foods that form the foundation of Japanese longevity practice regarding collagen restoration. This one is so fundamental that it appears in some form in nearly every Japanese elder's weekly routine. It's bone broth, though in Japanese tradition it's often part of dashi broths and soups that have been consumed for centuries. The reason bone broth is so central isn't mystical. It's biochemical. When you slow cook animal bones, whether chicken, beef, fish, or pork, at temperatures below boiling for extended periods, something specific happens to the collagen molecules. The heat breaks down the triple helix structure of collagen, converting it into gelatin. This gelatin is highly bioavailable. Your digestive system doesn't need to work hard to break it down further. Your body can absorb it efficiently and utilize it directly for tissue synthesis. But here's what matters: the amino acid composition of this gelatin. When collagen is converted to gelatin through cooking, it becomes rich in 3 specific amino acids: glycine, proline, and hydroxyproline. These 3 amino acids comprise approximately 90% of collagen's amino acid profile. Your body uses them as the direct building blocks for new collagen synthesis. This isn't indirect support. This is direct material transfer. In Japanese medical observation, the typical pattern in longevity populations is bone broth consumption 3 to 4 times weekly. Not every day, that would be excessive and potentially problematic for mineral balance. But 3 to 4 times weekly creates a consistent supply of these collagen precursor amino acids. Your body isn't scrambling to synthesize new collagen from scarce dietary sources. It has a reliable material stream. Now, there's a critical distinction you need to understand. Store-bought bone broth and homemade bone broth are not equivalent. Most commercial bone broths are cooked for 4 to 8 hours. The optimal extraction of collagen requires 12 to 24 hours of slow cooking. The longer cooking time ensures maximum conversion of collagen to gelatin and maximum extraction of minerals from the bone matrix. Additionally, most commercial broths include salt and sometimes additives. They may not include bones from animals fed appropriate diets. The quality varies enormously. When Japanese elders consume broth, it's often homemade. A whole chicken or bones are simmered overnight or for extended periods. The broth becomes rich and gelatinous. That gelatinous quality is your signal that collagen extraction has occurred. If the broth is thin and watery, collagen extraction hasn't happened efficiently. The appearance tells you about the nutrient density. The practical application is straightforward, but requires commitment. You need access to quality animal bones. Grass-fed or pastured animal sources are preferable because the collagen in well-nourished animals has superior amino acid ratios. You need time or a slow cooker to prepare the broth. You need consistency, 3 to 4 times weekly, prepared fresh or frozen in portions. In traditional Japanese kitchens, bone broth became the base for everything. Miso soup with broth. Rice cooked in broth. Vegetables simmered in broth. The broth wasn't consumed as an isolated supplement. It was woven into daily meals. This method of integration makes consistency effortless. It's not an addition to your diet. It becomes part of how you prepare food. Here's what happens biologically when you consume gelatin-rich bone broth consistently. Your body receives a direct supply of the amino acids needed to synthesize new collagen. Simultaneously, the broth typically contains minerals, calcium, magnesium, silicon, phosphorus, extracted from the bone matrix during cooking. These minerals serve as cofactors in collagen cross-linking enzymes. They enable your body to stabilize and organize the new collagen you're synthesizing. The gelatin also provides glycine, which serves not just as a structural component but also as a precursor for glutathione synthesis, one of your body's most important antioxidants. This reduces oxidative stress that would otherwise degrade collagen. In Japanese medical observation, the vascular and tissue changes from consistent bone broth consumption become visible within 3 to 4 months. Skin quality improves. Joints become less stiff. And critically for our discussion, edema begins decreasing. The vessel walls are being rebuilt from the inside, with actual material support. But here's what's important to recognize: bone broth alone isn't sufficient. It provides collagen precursor amino acids. But your vessel walls require more than amino acids. They require minerals for cross-linking. They require reduction of inflammatory signals. They require omega-3 fatty acids that modulate vascular permeability. This is why the Japanese approach includes multiple foods working in concert, not single food solutions. The role of bone broth is foundational. It's the material base. But the full restoration requires understanding how the other 3 foods complete the picture. Comment: this makes sense to me, if you're ready to learn how fish elevates bone broth's effects. Now I'm going to introduce you to the second food, and this one is crucial because it combines 2 mechanisms simultaneously: direct collagen provision and inflammatory modulation. In Japanese cuisine, this manifests as fish consumption with the skin intact, specifically cartilaginous fish like mackerel and sardines. Let me explain why fish skin matters specifically. The skin of fish, particularly ocean fish, contains type 1 collagen in concentrated form. When you eat fish skin, whether grilled, poached, or in soup, you're consuming collagen directly. Similar to bone broth, the cooking process partially converts this collagen to gelatin, making it bioavailable. But there's an additional mechanism at work with fish that makes it uniquely valuable for addressing edema. Cartilaginous fish, and I'm emphasizing cartilaginous specifically because this matters, contain high concentrations of omega-3 polyunsaturated fatty acids, particularly EPA and DHA. These aren't just general health compounds. They have specific anti-inflammatory effects directly relevant to vascular integrity. Here's the mechanism. EPA and DHA are incorporated into cell membranes, including the membranes of endothelial cells lining your blood vessels. Once incorporated, they modulate inflammatory signal transduction. They reduce the production of inflammatory cytokines that activate those collagen-destroying enzymes we discussed earlier. Simultaneously, omega-3 fatty acids affect vascular permeability directly. They reduce the tendency of vessel walls to become overly permeable. They enhance the production of prostacyclin, which promotes vasodilation and inhibits platelet aggregation, improving blood flow. For someone dealing with leg edema, this creates a dual effect. Collagen is being provided as raw material for vessel wall repair, while simultaneously the inflammatory environment that was accelerating collagen breakdown is being modulated. The specific fish matter. Mackerel and sardines aren't arbitrary choices. They're cartilaginous fish with particularly high collagen content in their skin and high omega-3 density. They're also smaller predators, which means they accumulate fewer heavy metals than large predatory fish. In Japanese coastal regions, these fish form the nutritional base. They're consumed with the skin. They're often grilled whole, which preserves the skin and maximizes collagen intake. This is a critical point. In Western fish preparation, we often remove the skin. We fillet the fish and discard the skin as though it were waste. In Japanese tradition, the skin is consumed. It's not an afterthought. It's the part that delivers maximum collagen density. The frequency of fish consumption in Japanese longevity populations varies, but typically it's 3 to 5 times weekly. Some weeks it might be daily. Other weeks it might be 2 or 3 times. The pattern isn't rigid, but the consistency is there. Fish consumption isn't special or supplementary. It's foundational to how Japanese cuisine is structured. Now, here's where the interaction with bone broth becomes important. When you consume bone broth 3 to 4 times weekly and fish 3 to 5 times weekly, you're not doubling your collagen intake randomly. You're creating a comprehensive approach. The bone broth provides gelatin and glycine-rich amino acids that serve as the material foundation. The fish skin provides additional collagen, but more importantly, It provides omega-3 fatty acids that reduce the inflammatory cascade that would otherwise degrade the collagen you're providing. Think of it this way: bone broth is the building material. Fish is the protection against demolition. One provides collagen precursors. The other provides the anti-inflammatory environment where those collagen precursors can be used to rebuild tissue rather than being consumed by inflammatory processes. There's another dimension to fish consumption that matters for vascular health. Fish contains selenium, which is a cofactor for glutathione peroxidase, one of your body's primary antioxidant enzyme systems. Oxidative stress is one of the primary drivers of collagen breakdown. When you reduce oxidative stress through adequate selenium intake, you're reducing one of the root causes of edema progression. Additionally, fish provides B vitamins involved in collagen synthesis. Vitamin B6 is particularly important for cross-linking stabilization in collagen molecules. The practical implementation is simpler than bone broth because it requires no special preparation. You purchase whole fish. You cook it with the skin intact. Grilling is optimal because high heat promotes collagen conversion. You eat the skin. The bones, if they're small enough to be consumed safely, provide additional mineral content. If not, you discard them. 3 to 5 times weekly, you have fish as part of your meal. Here's what Japanese medical observation shows. The combination of bone broth and fish consumption, particularly when fish skin is included, produces measurable improvements in vascular integrity within 8 to 12 weeks. Blood flow improves. Inflammation markers decrease. Edema begins resolving not through fluid loss, but through improved vessel wall structure. The tissue is being rebuilt. But, and this is critical, fish and bone broth together still aren't a complete solution. They provide collagen and some minerals. They provide anti-inflammatory compounds. But there's another dimension to collagen restoration that requires specific nutrient cofactors. That's where the third food enters the picture. Type, "I'm on this journey too," if you're ready to understand how fermented foods complete this restoration process. The third food in this system is different from the first two. Bone broth and fish skin provide collagen directly. Fermented soy products don't contain collagen. Instead, they enable your body's own collagen synthesis. This is a subtle but profoundly important distinction. When I say fermented soy products, I'm specifically referring to natto, miso, and tempeh. These are the primary forms in Japanese elder diets. The fermentation process is the critical variable that transforms ordinary soy into something with enhanced nutritional capacity. Here's the biochemistry. Raw or lightly cooked soy contains isoflavones in various forms, some of which have limited bioavailability. The human digestive system struggles to extract and utilize them efficiently. But fermentation changes this. Fermentation by beneficial bacteria and fungi, particularly the Bacillus subtilis in natto and the mold cultures in miso, breaks down the carbohydrate and protein matrices surrounding isoflavones. It increases their bioavailability dramatically. Additionally, fermentation produces vitamin K2, which doesn't exist in significant quantities in unfermented soy. Why does this matter for collagen? Isoflavones, particularly genistein and daidzein, function as phytoestrogens. In the context of aging and collagen degradation, this becomes relevant. Estrogen decline, particularly in postmenopausal women, is one of the primary drivers of collagen breakdown. Estrogen directly upregulates collagen synthesis and downregulates matrix metalloproteinase production. When estrogen declines, collagen degradation accelerates. Isoflavones, while weaker than endogenous estrogen, can partially activate estrogen receptors and modulate some of estrogen's protective effects on collagen. But there's another mechanism at work with fermented soy that's equally important. Fermentation increases mineral bioavailability. Soy contains phytic acid, which binds minerals and reduces their absorption. Fermentation reduces phytic acid content significantly. This means that minerals naturally present in soy, copper, zinc, manganese, become more bioavailable. These minerals are critical cofactors for lysyl oxidase, the enzyme that catalyzes cross-linking in collagen molecules. Cross-linking is where the real stabilization happens. You can provide all the amino acids in the world, but if they're not properly cross-linked, the collagen that forms is weak and unstable. Lysyl oxidase is the enzyme that catalyzes the oxidation of specific lysine and hydroxylysine residues in collagen, creating chemical bonds between collagen molecules. These bonds are what give collagen its tensile strength. Copper, zinc, and manganese are absolutely required for Lysyl oxidase to function. Additionally, fermented soy products contain vitamin K2. K2 activates two critical proteins, osteocalcin and matrix GLA protein. Matrix GLA protein is present in blood vessels and connective tissue. Its function is to prevent calcium from being deposited in soft tissues inappropriately. When K2 levels are adequate, matrix GLA protein is activated, calcium is directed away from blood vessels, and vascular calcification is prevented. This matters profoundly because vascular calcification reduces vascular elasticity. It's one of the mechanisms that increases vascular permeability and contributes to edema. In Japanese elder diets, fermented soy appears daily. Miso appears in miso soup, which is often consumed at breakfast. Natto, with its distinctive smell and sticky texture, appears in breakfast rice. Tempeh might appear in lunch or dinner preparations. The consumption is consistent and daily, not episodic. Here's what distinguishes fermented soy products from unfermented soy or soy supplements. The fermentation creates a food source that actually supports collagen synthesis rather than just providing isolated compounds. Your body integrates fermented soy's nutrients into the mineral metabolism and hormonal signaling that regulates collagen formation. It's not a supplement that does one thing. It's a food that supports comprehensive tissue restoration. The dose that appears in Japanese elder diets is modest, typically 1 to 2 servings daily of miso or natto. The intent isn't to consume massive quantities. It's consistent, daily provision of isoflavones and bioavailable minerals that support the collagen synthesis process. Now, here's where this becomes elegant. You have bone broth providing amino acid building blocks. You have fish skin providing collagen and anti-inflammatory compounds. You have fermented soy providing minerals and compounds that stabilize and cross-link collagen. These three foods, consumed consistently, create a comprehensive system where collagen isn't just being provided, it's being integrated into tissue with structural stability. But there's still one piece missing. Despite providing amino acids, anti-inflammatory compounds, and mineral cofactors, you still need something else. Your body needs trace minerals that aren't present in sufficient quantities in these three foods. Specifically, minerals that are foundational to collagen chemistry itself. Comment, this makes sense to me, if you're beginning to see how all these pieces fit together. The fourth food is fundamental, and it's one that Western discussions of collagen almost universally overlook. Seaweed. Specifically, the varieties consumed in Japanese tradition, kombu, wakame, and nori. These aren't exotic supplements. They're daily foods in Japanese cuisine. Seaweed is mineral-dense in ways that terrestrial plants simply cannot match. Living in the ocean, seaweed is bathed in mineral-rich saltwater. It concentrates minerals at levels that terrestrial plants cannot achieve. The specific minerals that seaweed provides are crucial for collagen stability and vessel integrity. Let me emphasize three minerals particularly: iodine, sulfur, and silicon. Iodine is perhaps most famous for its role in thyroid function, but it has another critical role in connective tissue health. Iodine is required for the proper functioning of thyroid peroxidase, and thyroid hormone is essential for collagen synthesis. Low iodine leads to thyroid dysfunction, which directly reduces collagen production. In Western populations, iodine deficiency is more common than we typically assume, particularly among people who don't consume dairy or use iodized salt. Seaweed is one of the most concentrated sources of bioavailable iodine available. Sulfur is equally important but almost never discussed in mainstream nutrition. Sulfur is present in collagen molecules as part of the amino acid methionine and as part of other sulfur-containing compounds. But more importantly, sulfur is required for the enzyme systems that stabilize collagen molecules. Additionally, sulfur participates in the reduction of inflammatory cytokines. Low sulfur status correlates with reduced collagen integrity and increased inflammation. Seaweed contains sulfur, but not as the primary mineral. What seaweed does contain is silicon. Silicon is perhaps the most overlooked mineral in collagen chemistry. Silicon is required for the enzymatic processes that stabilize collagen cross-links. It's incorporated directly into collagen molecules as part of the cross-linking process. Studies in connective tissue biology show that silicon status directly correlates with collagen cross-link density and tissue elasticity. Low silicon intake is associated with reduced bone density, reduced skin elasticity, and compromised vascular integrity. Seaweed is one of the few food sources with significant bioavailable silicon content. Additionally, seaweed provides other trace minerals, zinc, copper, manganese, that we discussed in the context of fermented soy. Seaweed provides these minerals at concentrations that are simply unavailable in terrestrial vegetables. A single serving of kombu or wakame contains more bioavailable trace minerals than multiple servings of conventional vegetables. In Japanese culinary tradition, seaweed isn't consumed as a supplement. It's integrated into daily meals. Kombu forms the base of dashi, the foundational broth of Japanese cuisine. This means that when someone consumes bone broth in Japanese tradition, if that broth is dashi, it already contains kombu and its mineral content. Wakame appears in miso soup, which is the nearly universal breakfast item. Nori appears in sushi and as a snack. The consumption is daily and integrated, not special or supplementary. The daily intake in Japanese elder diets is approximately 1 to 3 servings of seaweed-containing preparations. Not massive quantities, but consistent daily intake. Here's what's critical to understand. Western nutritional science has largely dismissed seaweed as a food source, relegating it to the supplemental category. This is a profound error. Seaweed was integral to Japanese nutrition for centuries before supplements existed. It was identified through observation as necessary for maintaining tissue integrity. The reason is biochemical. When you consume seaweed daily, you're providing your body with minerals that are foundational to collagen chemistry. Your body isn't scrambling to extract trace minerals from deficient sources. It has a reliable supply of iodine, silicon, and sulfur compounds that enable the enzymatic systems responsible for collagen stability. Now, let me connect this back to the complete system. You have bone broth providing amino acid building blocks. You have fish skin providing collagen and omega-3 fatty acids. You have fermented soy providing minerals and isoflavone compounds. And you have seaweed providing the trace minerals that are foundational to collagen chemistry itself: iodine, silicon, and sulfur. These 4 foods don't function in isolation. They're synergistic. Each one provides something the others don't, yet all of them work toward a single outcome: restoring vascular and tissue integrity by providing the material and biochemical conditions for collagen restoration. In Western nutritional thinking, we often approach health by isolating single nutrients. High-dose vitamin C for collagen, isolated collagen peptides, standalone mineral supplements. The Japanese approach is fundamentally different. Instead of isolating nutrients, you integrate whole foods that work in concert. The nutrient density is high, but it comes within the context of whole food consumption, which means complementary compounds are present, bioavailability is enhanced, and the body's regulatory systems can modulate intake appropriately. This is the nutritional foundation of Japanese longevity. Not supplements. Not isolation. Not pharmaceutical approaches. Whole foods, consumed consistently, providing the material and biochemical conditions for tissue restoration. But knowing which foods to eat is only half the equation. The other half is understanding how these foods are integrated into daily life, what the realistic patterns look like, and how you actually implement this in a way that's sustainable. Type, "I'm on this journey too," if you're ready to see how Japanese elders structure their daily meals around these principles. Now I want to show you what this actually looks like in practice. Not as a special program or supplement protocol, but as the everyday pattern that Japanese elders have maintained for decades. This is where theory becomes actionable. Let's walk through a typical day in the life of a Japanese elder who maintains lean, defined legs without edema. The day begins with breakfast. This breakfast is foundational. A bowl of steamed rice is the base. Over the rice, a soft cooked egg, or occasionally a small portion of protein. Beside this is a bowl of miso soup. This soup is typically made with dashi, a broth created from kombu and bonito fish flakes. The dashi contains minerals from kombu. It's simmered with wakame and soft tofu, or sometimes with a bit of fish. The tofu is often fermented. This single miso soup contains seaweed, fermented soy, and fish-derived minerals. Sometimes, instead of miso soup, the morning meal includes a small serving of bone broth-based soup with vegetables. The pattern varies, but consistently includes either miso soup or bone broth soup. For mid-morning, there might be a simple snack, a small portion of nori, a few nuts, or a fruit. Nori is seaweed. This provides additional iodine and minerals. Lunch is often lighter than breakfast in Japanese eating patterns. A bowl of rice with a small side of pickled vegetables, another seaweed-containing item, and perhaps a portion of leftover fish or fish cake. The meal is vegetable-forward by Western standards, but the foundation is mineral-rich, collagen-supporting foods. Sometimes lunch includes another serving of fermented soy in the form of tempeh or miso-based dressing on vegetables. Dinner is the largest meal. This is where whole fish appears. Grilled mackerel or sardines, skin intact, is common. This might be accompanied by a bowl of rice, vegetables prepared in dashi or bone broth, and side dishes of fermented soy products. The vegetables are often simmered in bone broth, which means they're not just providing micronutrients from the vegetables themselves but also absorbing collagen-rich liquid. Sometimes the main protein is not fish but a small portion of meat, chicken or beef, also often simmered in bone broth. The total pattern across the day might look like this. Breakfast includes bone broth or dashi-based soup containing seaweed and fermented soy. Lunch includes seaweed and fermented soy. Dinner includes whole fish with skin or meat simmered in bone broth. Additionally, bone broth or dashi appears in vegetable preparations throughout the day. Fermented soy appears at least once daily, often twice. Seaweed appears at least once daily, often in multiple forms. Fish appears 3 to 5 times weekly, always with skin intact. Now, here's what's critical. This isn't a special diet. This is normal eating. This is how Japanese elders have eaten for decades. It's not a protocol they started after developing edema. It's how they've always eaten. The tissue integrity they maintain in their 90s is the result of 40, 50, 60 years of consistent consumption of these foods. The timing and frequency matter, but not in the way Western supplement protocols demand. There's flexibility. If fish doesn't appear one day, it appears the next. If bone broth isn't available one week, it's made fresh the next. The consistency is maintained across weeks and months, not rigidly within single days. But here's the biochemical reality. This pattern creates a continuous, consistent supply of collagen amino acids, minerals, and anti-inflammatory compounds. Your body isn't experiencing feast-famine cycling with nutrients. It has a reliable supply of the materials needed for tissue restoration. The practical translation for someone in the Western context is this. You need to integrate these foods into your regular eating pattern, not as additions but as foundations. Instead of eating grilled fish fillet without skin, you eat whole fish with skin. Instead of making vegetable broth separately from your meals, you use bone broth or seaweed-based broth as the liquid in vegetable preparations. Instead of consuming fermented soy as an occasional special food, you make it part of your daily rhythm. A small serving of miso in soup, a portion of natto in breakfast rice, tempeh in a lunch salad. The volume consumed is modest. This isn't about gorging on these foods. It's about consistent inclusion. A single bowl of miso soup daily contains adequate amounts of fermented soy, seaweed, and fish-derived minerals from the dashi. A single serving of fish 3 to 4 times weekly provides collagen and omega-3 fatty acids. A single bowl of bone broth-based soup 3 to 4 times weekly provides amino acids and minerals. The remarkable thing about this pattern, from a Western perspective, is its simplicity. There are no exotic supplements. No collagen peptide powders. No special protocols. There's just consistent consumption of whole foods that provide collagen and the minerals and compounds that support collagen function. In medical observation across Japanese populations, individuals who maintain this eating pattern consistently show measurable improvements in vascular and tissue integrity. Edema that was present begins resolving within 8 to 12 weeks. Skin quality improves. Joint stiffness decreases.
Circulation improve.
These aren't sudden transformations. They're gradual progressions that result from consistent nutrient provision. But there's a broader principle at work here beyond just food intake. The consistent consumption of these foods reflects something deeper about how Japanese culture approaches aging and disease prevention. Comment: this makes sense to me, if you're beginning to see how you could practically implement these patterns in your own life. Now I want to step back and show you the larger principle that connects everything we've discussed. Because what I've revealed about leg swelling and collagen isn't isolated. It's a window into how Japanese medical philosophy approaches aging entirely. The core principle is this: degenerative processes in aging aren't sudden catastrophes. They're gradual deteriorations that result from consistent nutritional insufficiency and chronic inflammation. And because they're gradual, they're preventable. The tissue quality you have at 70, 80, 90 years old is the direct result of how you've nourished your body in your 40s, 50s, 60s. Leg swelling represents one visible marker of this degradation. But it's not unique. The same process, collagen breakdown accelerated by mineral insufficiency and chronic inflammation, is happening simultaneously in your arterial walls, in your skin, in your joints, in your organs. The edema in your legs is just the most obvious manifestation because gravity makes it visible. But the underlying process is systemic. The Japanese approach to longevity recognizes this. Instead of waiting for symptoms to appear and then treating them medically, the approach is to maintain tissue quality proactively. The foods we've discussed, bone broth, fish skin, fermented soy, seaweed, aren't treatments for edema. They're expressions of a consistent principle: provide the material conditions for tissue integrity and prevent degradation before it starts. This principle extends far beyond leg swelling. Japanese elders maintain cognitive function, cardiovascular health, bone density, and joint mobility at levels that starkly contrast with Western aging patterns. The consistency is remarkable. And it's not because of genetics. It's because the nutritional foundation has been consistently maintained. Here's the cause and effect chain clearly. Collagen loss occurs due to insufficient amino acids, insufficient minerals, and chronic inflammation. Insufficient amino acids result from diets low in collagen-containing foods. Insufficient minerals result from processing and refining foods, which removes minerals. Chronic inflammation results from diets high in processed vegetable oils and refined carbohydrates. Japanese dietary patterns address all three simultaneously. They provide collagen directly. They provide minerals through whole foods and seaweed. They minimize processed foods that drive inflammation. The remarkable efficiency of this approach is that it addresses the root cause rather than symptoms. You're not taking a diuretic that forces fluid loss while collagen continues to degrade. You're providing the material conditions for collagen restoration. The swelling decreases not because fluid is being artificially removed, but because tissue integrity is being restored. Your body normalizes. But here's what's critical to understand. This approach requires consistency. It's not a short-term protocol. You can't eat bone broth once a month, consume fish occasionally, and expect tissue restoration. The body's tissue turnover is measured in months. Collagen in blood vessels turns over on timescales of months to a few years. To reverse decades of collagen degradation, you need months of consistent nutrition providing the restoration materials. In practical terms, if you've had leg edema for years, you should expect 3 to 6 months of consistent application of this dietary approach before seeing complete resolution. You might see improvements within 8 to 12 weeks, but complete tissue restoration takes longer. Your body is literally rebuilding tissue at the cellular level. That requires time. The power of this approach, though, is that it's not dependent on medical intervention. You're not waiting for a doctor to prescribe something. You're not dependent on expensive pharmaceutical treatments. You're utilizing whole foods that are available, affordable, and normalizable into your regular eating pattern. Additionally, this approach has no negative side effects. Unlike diuretics, which deplete potassium and create dependency, or compression therapy, which can impair circulation if used excessively. Consistent consumption of collagen-providing foods and mineral-rich vegetables has only positive effects. Your body utilizes the nutrients you provide. Extra minerals are excreted. Extra amino acids are incorporated into tissue or used for other metabolic purposes. There's no toxicity threshold you need to worry about. Now, I want to address something that might be occurring to you. If this is so effective, why isn't this standard medical practice? Why isn't every doctor recommending bone broth and fish skin for patients with edema? The answer is complex. Western medical training emphasizes acute intervention and pharmaceutical treatment. Preventive nutrition is considered secondary. Additionally, there's an economic incentive structure. Diuretics are profitable. Compression stockings are profitable. Collagen supplements are profitable. Teaching someone to eat fish with the skin intact isn't profitable for anyone. The knowledge isn't suppressed, but it's also not incentivized. Additionally, Western medicine traditionally separates food from medicine. In Japanese medical philosophy, food and medicine are not separate. They operate on the same continuum. Food is preventive medicine. Medicine is concentrated food. But in Western practice, doctors prescribe medicine and dietitians recommend food. These are separate domains. The integration of high-nutrient foods as the primary intervention doesn't fit neatly into this structure. What I'm sharing with you is knowledge that's been validated through centuries of observation. It's not experimental. It's not theoretical. It's observable in Japanese populations that maintain this approach. The tissue integrity of Japanese elders is the proof of the principle. But the knowledge only has power if you act on it. Understanding the cause and effect chain between collagen loss and edema, understanding which foods provide collagen and minerals, understanding the daily pattern that Japanese elders maintain, none of this matters if you don't implement it. The decision point is here. You can continue managing symptoms with diuretics and compression, accepting that this is what aging requires. Or you can implement a dietary approach rooted in tissue restoration, recognizing that aging doesn't have to follow the degenerative pattern we've normalized in Western culture. Type, "I'm on this journey too," if you've decided to try this approach. If you've made it this far, you're someone who takes health seriously and questions default narratives. Subscribe because I'm releasing more content about Japanese longevity practices. You'll join a community of people choosing differently. Like this video if it shifted your perspective. Help this reach others who need it. Most importantly, begin. Don't wait for perfect conditions. Start with one element. One change compounds. You already know the standard approach doesn't work. You understand the mechanism now. The question is whether you'll act. Thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next video.